I just kind of switched around my library, and today I'm going to give you a tour of all the resources I have and how I have them organized. Let's begin. One of the biggest requests here on my channel is a tour through all of my Bible resources. But I gotta be honest with you guys, I've never had all of my library up or organized or set up before. And that is because my husband's a pastor. And so there's been times where he has his books in a church office. There's been other times where like we just didn't have enough room on my bookshelves for them. And so for the first time ever since being a married woman, so 8 years, I have an organized, everything out kind of library. And I'm so excited to show you it. I'm pretty excited for what this means for my Bible study, but we'll get to that. Now, I just don't know where I want to start this tour. So on my classic bookshelves, y'all guys can see this one looks mostly empty right here, and we'll get to why. But I have like my quick grab resources because my desk is right here. So this is where I'll plan to sit and Bible study, and I need quick grab resources I use right here. All I have to do is turn around and grab them off the shelf. Now, you might say, well, Faith, what are those quick grab resources? They're the core ones that I tell y'all about all the time, like Bible dictionaries, commentaries, and atlases. I also have some word study resources. That's like my word study shelf. So let me show you though first how I organized these, because I did something different that kind of looks bad. So over here on this shelf is like mostly empty, as you can see. The whole thing from top to bottom is dedicated to loose or separate or individual commentaries. And what I mean by that is, y'all know I have the pretty sets or like parts of a set of commentaries. You know, they typically do big volume commentaries where there's like 66 books and you buy one for each book of the Bible. But realistically, most of the time, if you're studying one book of the Bible and you want one person's advice, like Brian Chappell, I loved his commentary on Ephesians and I used it in my Ephesians course a lot. I would go and buy all of his, in fact, I checked recently and there's not a lot of other commentaries he's written, but I would go and buy all his other commentaries on other books of the Bible, even if it's a whole different commentary set I don't already have. So sometimes I have commentaries that go in different sets that I don't have the whole thing of, but they're still good commentaries for that specific book of the Bible, or my pastor will recommend them. And you can't always recommend the whole volume set, but specific volumes are the good ones, and that's what you want to buy. And so in the past, I would have them just stacked up on a bookshelf, all intermixed, and then I would forget that I had them, and there wasn't a quick, easy way to remember that I had them. What I did was, let me push y'all back a little bit. So here's like Genesis, this is one on the Pentateuch, and then there's one over there on Deuteronomy. There's a couple on the Kings, Esther and Ruth, the Psalms, Song of Solomon, and I go through the whole Bible all the way down until, ignore the junk, but I have more for the New Testament books. I just kind of sorted them from Genesis to Revelation, and there's a lot of room to grow. So I'm actually really excited about this system, because then let's say I'm sitting in Deuteronomy and I have a specific question and I go through all of my volume sets and I'm like, I want something more. Oh, let me go check about my loose random commentaries. Then I have this one by Christopher J.H. Wright, Understanding the Bible Commentary Series. I've got this one on Deuteronomy that I can check as well. Or I have this one right here, which I've mentioned many times because I really like it, the Pentateuch as narrative. So I have it up on my Pentateuch shelf and it's there. I can't even think about random other commentaries without seeing this on the shelf. So it doesn't look super pretty. That's why I put it towards the front, because most of the time the camera is going to be like this anyway. But it's so practical. I'm like really excited about that shelf. So I wanted to start with that one. Then as you move over, you get more into the commentary sets. So up top here, I have Nancy Guthrie's. They're technically studies, but I use them as commentaries because they're just so well done. So there's the Promise one. This is Seeing Jesus in Genesis, the Lamb of God, Seeing Jesus in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So it's seeing Jesus throughout the Old Testament. It's just a really, really good resource. Nancy, if you ever see this, I want to be your friend. So I actually use these or just reference them. What does Nancy say on that passage? Surprisingly, a large amount of the time. So I didn't want to put it anywhere else else other than right behind me. This is Wiersbe's Old Testament and New Testament. And you guys know I'm not huge on Wiersbe just because typically he doesn't say new stuff to me. Typically it's like, oh, my pastor said that growing up. I knew that about this passage. And that's probably because I grew up in the circles that are highly influenced by Wiersbe. And so all of my pastors were using and quoting him. You know, I'm gonna hear not much new stuff from him, but I still have him just in case. Great beginner commentary. A lot of people get like, there's a big newer New Testament and Old Testament that a lot of people get. Over here, the Bible knowledge commentary, Old Testament and New Testament. I actually really do like these. These are still in the Baptist circles, written by some professors from Dallas Theological Seminary, but they say stuff that I've not heard before. And year after year, I find myself coming back to these as just quick resources for commentaries. So I really like the Bible knowledge commentary and the charts and stuff that they have. Like I'll be thinking about something like, I remember seeing a chart on this passage of the Bible one time and it will be from here. So I don't know what that means, but it's good. And then I also have the New Unger's Bible Dictionary because it's my second favorite Bible dictionary. My first favorite Bible dictionary is down here, like really easy for me to grab while I'm sitting at my desk right here. This is so hard to show you guys. I thought it was gonna be simpler. Then I have some really cool resources here that I feel like you guys are gonna like. The Books of the Bible list by Wilmington that a pastor friend told me about. And this is done also Wilmington's Guide to the Bible, both of which are kind of geeky things. So let me just show you an example. This is a list of the promises to the believer. This is a list of lies, of marriages. This is a list of journeys. So as you can see, it's a really interesting resource. I wish I used it more. It's just hard to remember that it's there. So I tried to kind of put it in my fun resources stack. I also have Oxford Bible Atlas, which I really enjoy. This is a new publication that I've mentioned multiple times. It came out last fall. Nancy Dawson's All the Genealogies of the Bible. Sometimes she says stuff and it's like, okay, I knew that already. And then other times it's like, oh wow, that really helped me, thank you. Okay, and then here's the bigger Wilmington's Guide to the Bible. And then I have the ESV Bible Atlas, which I often, again, forget about. So that's why I put these here. I noticed that when my bookshelves were getting really overwhelmingly stuffed, it was hard to like see what I was looking for and remember what I had. All right, moving down. So over here, we got a plant that I picked up at Kroger about an hour ago because we needed some life in this room. Tell me what I should name the plant. He looks like a George to me or something. Also, I have no idea what kind of plant this is. And if you know and how to water it, would love that information. I want to get some more of these Vernon McGee's Through the Bible. This is like a beginner resource, but it's still helpful and it's like lighthearted commentary. It's not super heavy. He doesn't take himself too seriously. So I want to get the rest of these. I see these everywhere. I thought I had more than one, but maybe I lost them. I don't know, whatever. Here is the Knack. So everybody always asks me, what's the blue and red commentaries that are behind you? This is the Knack, the New American Commentary. You'll see right here, Knack, N-A-C, New American Commentary. And this was like my first commentary that I really fell in love with. So I bought most of the volumes. Every month or so when I come up, like I was just reading Proverbs yesterday and I needed to look something up and I just didn't have enough resources on Proverbs. And so I ordered a bunch more. Those should be arriving today. Where's the mailman? Anyway, so I'll order them as I need them. I typically try and get stuff that I know I already like, but I also pay attention to the authors. Now I'll insert some clips here of what I got, but that's this shelf. This is the Knack. The blue is the Old Testament. The red is the New. And then bottom shelves, I left those free for now. I don't know. And we have, this is the New Testament of the Tyndale. Yeah, Tyndale New Testament commentaries. Old Testament is over here, but here is where I have my favorite Bible commentary, the Tyndale Bible commentary. I put all the Tyndale stuff together, and of course this is right behind my chair, so it's really easy to grab because I use it all the time. Ugh. Okay. I feel like this is taking forever, so we're gonna have to speed things up. I already feel like I covered most of this one. So like I said, Knack, and then you can see a little bit of the Tyndale. And then here's the Nikot, which I've mentioned a lot, or Nikint. So Nikot is the New International Commentary of the Old Testament, and the Nikint is the New International Commentary on the New Testament. So by definition, it's using the New International Translation, but I still use it while I'm reading through my ESV. It's really helpful to use commentaries, even though they may be working off of different translations. I fell in love with it from the Acts, and then the Psalms one I love as well. So I have a lot of the Nikot or Nikint for New Testament. Over here is the NIV application commentary. This is more beginner. Again, it just really focuses on application. So you might struggle with application. My husband, he's a pastor. He likes a lot of application. So he also likes the Boyce commentaries. Here's Boyce on the Psalms. We also have Boyce on the minor prophets here. So there's some like authors like Boyce and series like the NIV application commentary that are going to focus more on application. I don't typically struggle as much with application. That to me comes naturally. It's the background information that I want to know. So I don't use this resource a ton, but then there's certain instances where I'm like, I really do want this resource. Or even just a light overview from a different angle. Sometimes they'll still give really insightful background information on the Psalms and stuff. So you can see I have a couple, not a ton for that reason. Most of them are through the Old Testament because it's naturally just harder to apply the Old Testament than the New Testament at times. So there's that. Up above, I have my Bible stash. And you can see I have a bunch of study Bibles and different translations because, well, you guys know from my translation videos, I find a lot of value in studying the scriptures by using many different translations. All right, we got to keep moving. Oh, I almost skipped over. Here we have a resource, Figures of Speech Used in the Bible. This is a really cool resource that I want at quick grabs, like when I'm struggling with, I don't know, a figure of speech in the Bible. I want to be able to grab it really quickly. And then we also have the Parables of the Bible resource right here by Lockyer. Again, these are the type of resources you're going to forget about if you don't see them. So I wanted them close. And then of course we have the broken mug, which I've talked about in a couple of my videos. In these two last bookcases, we have the Reformed Expository Commentary. And I really kind of got into this one from, like I mentioned earlier, Brian Chappell's volume on Ephesians. And then they have a double volume on John right here. And I think I have a couple more coming in the mail. I also have the ESV Expository Commentary, which is also really good. It's a newer print. And I really like the Psalms. So then that kind of fed into me checking out the other ones that I really like. And then I have these Robertson resources on word pictures in the Bible. I have all of them for the New Testament. I don't know if he has Old Testament ones. Now, getting down to the floor, below that we got the Word Biblical Commentary set. If you haven't taken Greek or Hebrew, it's just gonna be hard to read, but it's a good commentary for that sake, for word studies. It's not an easy read, but it's a good resource. Down here, this is a newer set to me, and I'm still kind of like meh on it. Now we're on to our last one over here on the side of the room. This is a resource I have always forgotten that I had, so I really can't tell you much of an opinion on it. It's the Interpreter's Bible. As you can see, I don't have the whole thing. 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's like the beginning of the Old Testament and then like 3/4 of the New Testament. So it's kind of a weird assortment. And again, I just like forget about it. So I put it obviously here because I want to use it more. Moving up from the interpreters, we have the Expositor's Bible Commentary. And I have volumes 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And this one is also mixed feelings. A lot of these towards this side, I guess, are mixed feelings commentaries. Like it can be good. There's been times where I've been like, that did not help me at all. You didn't give me anything to work with there. And then there's other times where I was like, wow, thank you. That was kind of helpful. So up here though, we have Vincent's word studies in the New Testament. And those are good, but again, I would just like forget that I had them in my crowded bookshelf. So I'm excited to use them more. And then I have word studies in the Greek New Testament. I really am excited about this whole little word study section. So you can see I have my volume sets on word studies, and then I have my whole word studies set up here. So I got like I got Strong's and Brown Driver Briggs for word studies. And then I have word studies in the New Testament, another concordance, a dictionary, then Greek New Testament, Hebrew Bible, Greek New Testament, but with textual notes, and then an interlinear, and then a Hebrew, Greek, English interlinear there. Now let's go over here because I'm excited about these because a lot of these books were actually in boxes in like my last 2 setups, I think, just because there wasn't enough space for them. So these cabinets are obviously a godsend and I'm super grateful for them, but these are all resources I reference on the monthly, and or I think that whole cabinet is Christian Living, Pastoral Resources, etc. So we'll walk through it. But in the past, what really clogged up my bookshelves was this stuff right here, like from here to here. And the problem is they're still good resources to reference when you need to reference them, but You don't need to reference them on the weekly. So let's walk through them. Up on this very top shelf is all Christian history. I don't know how to say his name. Schaff. History of the Christian Church right there. And then I have all these volumes on Christian history, like from classes I took. And then also there's readers on characters of the Bible, like Paul and Matthew and things like that. So I included that in Christian history, partly because I was out of space in like my classics section and my Christian living. It just didn't fit anywhere else. Like to me, that made sense for my brain, but some people might be like, why do you have that there? Anyway, here is a lot of like theological dictionaries. Actually, the whole shelf is theological dictionaries. And then down here, I have Calvin's, which I like never use if I'm being like completely raw and real with y'all, but my husband uses them a lot. So they're easy here for him to grab. And then there's these Elwell's Dictionary of Theology, Dictionary of Biblical Theology, and his commentary on the Bible next to Strong's Hebrew and Greek dictionary. So still kind of some dictionaries down here, but your girl was running out of space. Okay. Up here with the globe is all Mythology and apologetics. I studied, obviously I got like a biblical and theological degree for my undergrad, and then I concentrated in missions, minored in sociology. So obviously that overlaps a lot with Christian sociology and anthropology. The study of culture really impacts the way that we spread the gospel, and I'm really interested in that and passionate about that. Kind of led me here online as well, and informs the way that I do online. But that shelf is kind of mixed. Secular resources in with Christian worldview resources and with just like apologetics. It's the stuff, really, when I came to organize my bookshelves, I was like, when I think of this book, am I going to think to look in this section or am I going to think to look in that section? You might look at some of these and be like, why'd you put that there? And it's just because for my brain and my own referencing, it made sense. But obviously there's, especially when it gets to like Christian theology and hermeneutics, like there's a lot of overlap. Hermeneutics informs our theology. There's just overlap, and Christian living is so broad as well. It was just a whole thing. And then with space-wise, what ended up where it is what ended up where it is. Now this middle here is all theology. There's a lot of theology of worship. So if I was to go back through, I would take all the theology of worship and put them together because that's more of like pastoral heart, and set those aside for my husband. There's also some classic-y kind of stuff, and most of my classics I put down here. So we've got 2 different copies of Edwards. I just can't bring myself to get rid of them because 2 different people gave us them. It's a whole thing. So we just have 2 copies of Jonathan Edwards' works. Calvin's Institutes, some systematic theologies, and then a couple commentaries and a couple intros to the New Testament and Old Testament. This middle corner shelf is all hermeneutics, and you'll see there's some books that cover hermeneutics I don't agree with, some that are looking at different angles, like on dispensationalism versus covenant theology. There's all kind of just even like Bible study resources, and obviously hermeneutics is my heart. How do we read the Bible and be faithful to the Bible? So I wanted that like center of the books. Now we get to our big, huge Christian living section. So it overwhelms me to look at it. This whole thing and this whole thing is just broad strokes mixed all together Christian living. And you've got stuff that I agree with, stuff that I don't agree with. You've got stuff that I may not ever read again, but I want it in case I need to reference it or quote it. You've got stuff that like my husband read and he found helpful. And in our final big overhead bookcase section, these are the books that I've read this year. And then these are the books that are on my TBR, my to be read list. Some of those I added onto that shelf because they looked interesting and I ran out of space in my Christian living section. So obviously I will not probably get to every single one of these books before the end of the year, but they're there to remind me, hey, you wanted to read this. Also, you'll see there's a little stack here on my desk working section, and that is because these are all resources on the Westminster Shorter Catechism, Confession of the Faith. I'm currently working on a course for parents to go through and catechize their kids, and so referencing these, like Catechizing Our Children, this book by Terry L. Johnson, The Whys and Hows of Teaching a Shorter Catechism Today, are informing the way that I do certain things. Up here, these are all pastoral references. So these are all mostly books that just my husband read for pastor classes, how to preach certain things. And then he also took a lot of classes on like counseling and psychology, because that plays a huge part in how you pastor. And then over here, there's also some Greek and Hebrew resources. I was trying to fit them in with my hermeneutics section, but it didn't fit. So I threw them in with the pastoral resources. And then at the very top, we've got studies. So there might be books going through the Book of Mark, or like Christian living kind of esque things that go through the Minor Prophets, etc. And then I also have a section of books on women's roles in the church, because y'all know for a long time I was reading all about that from all different angles. And I was thinking about it as I put the books in that section. I was like, people are going to look at those titles and judge some of those books and some of those authors, probably, if they know. And I went through and I was like, there's not a single one of these that I could truly agree with 100%. So it probably is okay for me to have them kind of shoved up against that side so that when I'm filming like this, you can't really see them. But I mean, that doesn't mean that there's not books all throughout here that we don't 100% agree with at all, by any means. There's really just such a world of biblical scholarship. It is a lot, but there's still so much more. And so if you got anything from this video, it's not that you need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books. A lot of these have been given to us. It's rather that there's just a whole world of biblical scholarship, and no single library can ever hold it all in. Pages upon pages, books upon books, authors and lifetimes upon lifetimes have been spent trying to exhaust the riches of Scripture, and they can't, because the word is alive and active, and it's sharper than any double-edged sword, and is profitable for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and all the good things in the Christian life. And we're called to dwell in it richly. It is a privilege and an honor to do that with you guys every week in my videos, and to share these resources with you guys. I don't want y'all to ever feel like you have to go spend a bunch of money to know the word. I also totally get it when you're like, the budget's too tight, I can't buy that resource, because I literally had that conversation with myself yesterday. But be encouraged, okay? So next year, next month, maybe get that resource and enjoy the riches of Scripture. Be excited for many more videos to come in my new library setup. And if you're just curious, like, wait, how did you change the room and stuff like that? If you were on Patreon, you would know. So check out my Patreon link down below. Or if you want to see my boiled down version of my favorite resources to use in Bible study on just the day-to-day for a starter beginner set of resources, check out this video right here. And I'll see you guys in that one. Bye guys.